start and it's 4 o'clock.
You eat loud.
Like, forget that. Okay, we want to welcome everyone to our May 3rd, 2026 work session agenda here for Cottonwood Heights. And we're glad that there is quite a large attendance here today. Our first item of business is a review of our business meeting agenda. And in that meeting, I've asked Tiffany Jepson, our recorder, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. After that, we'll have citizen comments. We have two action items. We have consideration of resolution 2026-16, approving an agreement with Perkins Engineering Incorporated for engineering services. Is there any desire to discuss this further at this meeting?
I would love to know a little bit more about it.
But the Perkins Engineering,
Yeah.
this is part of the RDA, over off 30th East by the shop. We have funds in our RDA through that area that need to be expended. We have done everything we can over there that relates to the RDA, like for the trail, the beautification, things of that nature. There's not much more we have over there, but one of the locations that we do have is where the Big Cottonwood Trail crosses 30th East at the light, at the corporate center.
Yep.
Where I'm talking.
It's right by the Public Works building.
Correct. Yeah, right there. That's the crossing for the Big Cottonwood Trail that goes through. Our thoughts are we want to improve that crossing because one of the things we do have a pretty front row seat to this. We see the people crossing all the time. That gets used heavily. And we'd like to improve the safety on that with like lights, textured crossing, bump outs, things of that nature, kind of enhancing that. And the funding for this comes out of the RDA. It doesn't come out of the general fund. It has to be spent in the RDA. So this is what we're looking at doing.
Were there any other projects considered, or is this just?
There was another project considered, another crossing up at the hotel area. It's sort of a mid-block crossing. We sometimes see people running across there with their suitcases going from the hotel to the conference to the corporate area.
6 lanes or whatever.
Right. We've looked at that. We will investigate that further with this, but I don't know what we would have in the way of funds to construct anything there. So this seemed like the best location, the most logical, because this one gets heavily used by bicyclists, walkers, joggers, and everything. So this was the area we thought would really need to be enhanced the most, this crossing.
So this is a $47,000 some odd dollar engineering, and then you have the funds to implement.
Correct. Yeah.
I think this is in your district, correct?
No, it's not. It's in District 3. However, I did check in with our subcommittee on active transportation who did take a look, and so from them, the two observations they had was that, a raised crossing there as opposed to at grade crosswalk would mean a lot. And I don't know how much you're going to be looking to the engineers that'll look at this project related to the best, bang for the buck on safety. But I was curious also, there's a left-hand turn lane that's dedicated to come into Public Works complex at that level.
Correct.
Yeah, and I know a median that allows for there to serve as a safety island, so to speak, should somebody get caught timing wise. And I just wondered if according to the purpose is to calm traffic. We know that it comes into where there's residential streets and ultimately I think it goes down to 25 miles an hour. So some kind of visual friction, whether, a consideration of a median, which would also.
Yeah, we're looking at all the alternatives. The raised crosswalk at that location is not the best use of a raised crosswalk because it's at a light. Cars get caught there on the raised crosswalk if the light changes. You're sitting on that. It's generally not the best location for a raised crosswalk. You tend to put those at mid blocks or places where you don't have the lights. But we are certainly looking at a refuge island, if you will, for pedestrians. Looking at, like I said, the bump outs, little bit shorter crossing to go from point A to point to get to the mid block and then go the middle and go across. So we're looking at all sorts of options. We just haven't nailed anything down yet. Till we bring somebody on board. That's where we are.
Right. I'd like to just suggest that as we look at projects that are for safety for our pedestrians and cyclists, that we do collaborate and include the subcommittee on active transportation. I think that would be a good, practice to consider.
Good. Thank you, Matt, for that. I was
Sure.
able to talk about this with Jared earlier, and I'm really glad that we're putting these funds to use.
Oh, I did have one question. Since the majority of the trail work to smooth out the asphalt on the Cottonwood Trail went from its, I guess you could say, northeasternmost or northwesternmost extremity to just on the east side of that traffic light at 3000 East. Could RDA funds be used to do any continuation, or does that take it too far away
It takes
from
it
the
too far away.
project?
We went as far as we could go with the RDA
Oh, got it.
already.
I thought that would, thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks for that clarification.
Okay. The only other legislative item we have this evening is resolution 2026-17, approving an agreement with the state of Utah concerning use of the 2050 name, logo, and identity. And is there a discussion on this?
I'm gonna be presenting on it.
In the,
Staff
it's one of the staff reports.
Okay.
In the work session.
And then we're ready for our visitors and reports. And our first on the agenda is Ridgecrest Elementary, Bella Vista Elementary update. And we have Principal Sarah Allen. So we'll invite you to the table. There's a seat here you're welcome to have.
Well, thanks for having us. I'm Sarah Allen. I'm the principal at Ridgecrest. I'm joined by my fifth grade teachers here, as well as some of our fifth grade students who are part of a project that we'll talk a little bit more about with you. But there's been a lot going on at Ridgecrest and in the community, as I'm sure you all know. The Canyon School District has voted to close down Bella Vista and consolidate their school with ours at Ridgecrest. And that will also result in some changes to the boundaries of Ridgecrest and send a pocket of our kiddos down to a different school, East Midvale. So with that, it's a really big transition for a lot of people. With transition comes a lot of hard, a lot of fear, a lot of big emotions. Also comes with some excitement and joy that we're working through to navigate and honor both sides of that. So with that, we wanted to give you just an update on how we're moving through some of that and trying to do the best we can to support our communities. First thing is, right after they made the decision to close Bella Vista, we put together a transition team at the district that includes the principals of both schools, the school community councils, the PTA organizations, and our building leadership teams. So those are made up of the leaders in our school buildings. We wanted to make sure we had the voice of all stakeholders there, with the primary purpose being trying to figure out what the concerns were in the community so that we could support them and mitigate them, and also look to how we could help to build unity between our schools. Our very first transition meeting happened early January, and the very first thing that came up out of that meeting was a really clear desire for the Bella Vista community to come see Ridgecrest. There was concerns what that was going to look like and if they were going to feel welcomed. So within 7 days, we had an open house at Ridgecrest. We invited everybody in. We had a huge turnout with kids and families. And it really was a turning point in a lot of the big emotions that have been surfaced through this transition. We had really positive feedback. It was, I think, an opportunity for us all to just see each other as humans. We're all working together to do great things for kids, because that's what we do. We're passionate Bella Vista is passionate, and we can do this together. So that was really positive. Next thing the transition team tackled was the desire to really facilitate events that can allow for the beginning of unity between our schools. Again, we want to make sure everyone's feeling welcome. So our various groups, our PTA, our school community council, we've been working really closely to share the events that we already have planned in the school year, because we have a lot of things that we do at schools to build community. And it's an easy place to open the doors and invite them in, and vice versa, so we can see what matters to each community as we plan forward. So we have a skate night that we've invited folks to come to, and Bella Vista kids and families started to come. We've we plan on some picnic events when it warms up, because we are lucky enough to have Anzac Park next to us. So we gather after school as a community for picnicking games. And we'll make sure Bella Vista comes to that. We have a talent show that's coming up where we are having our PTA is actually meeting at Bella Vista to give them a chance to participate in the talent show, which is
When is that?
great. It is April 17th. Am I right? Thank you.
Oh, that's great.
April 17th, and that's at Butler Middle School at 6 p.m. So it's an easy place, because it's not in the middle of a school day where it feels awkward still to come into a different school that's not yours yet. So we're really hopeful that that's going to be a welcoming way for them to come in as well. So there are so many things that we're working on like that to help build that unity. The next thing our transition team needed to work through was questions about renaming Ridgecrest or rebranding it. And because there were requests all around to help. Some of the Bella Vista families were concerned they wouldn't feel welcome at Ridgecrest, because again, fear, I think, is what starts in transition. And so as we've taught that through with the transition team, we realized we really don't have time to completely rename. It's quite an expense and take quite a process to really do that effectively, and we need to be ready by fall. It also is actually a school board decision to rename, so it's not even up to us, and the school board has said at this point they're not going to do that. So instead, through these conversations, we realized that we have a lot that we share in common with Bella Vista, which helps tremendously. So we share the same school colors. We're both orange and blue. We have the same mascot. We're both tigers. They have Bella the tiger. We have Reggie the tiger. So this is really easy for us to just welcome their mascot over. And next year we plan to have Bella and Reggie. And then to help mitigate the feelings of we're losing a school and you're just absorbing us, we are going to do a brand refresh, trying to unify our tigers and make it show, you know, who we are all together. But we are staying with the name Ridgecrest at this point. The other reason for that is the school board has proposed rebuilding Ridgecrest. That isn't final yet, but they proposed it. It's an initial proposal right now. And with that being discussed, it felt like the right time to possibly really rename or revamp something like that would be with the new building. So at that point, that's on hold, and we're just going to stick with kind of freshening the brand to show who we all are together. And that also takes us, I guess, to the next part that I'm most excited to share with and talk with you about is the proposal to change the street name in front of our school. So last year, we started having conversations because we have frequent confusion with people who come to our school. The street in front of our school is 7200, but so many people think of that as Fort Union. And so trying to find Ridgecrest is more confusing than it should be at times for families. And so we were talking about that as an opportunity for our 5th grade to make a proposal and put, you know, to apply the skills that they learn in 5th grade, which is in social studies, they're learning how government works. So we've got Ridgecrest has a long history in this, and I could tell you some fun stories in the past of projects that they've done. So this felt like a real opportunity for our 5th grade to be put to work. So we started that conversation last year, the beginning of this year with the discussion of the schools consolidating. We paused a little bit. We weren't quite sure if that felt like a respectful thing to do right now. And then the more we talked this through and realized we share colors and mascots, it felt like actually an easy thing to turn and make one of our unifying events. So I'm going to turn it over to a video that our 5th grade put together for the proposed name change. And we'll let them tell you about that,
Everybody's right.
right?
Hello, City Council members. Thank you for taking the time to watch our video. We are 5th grade students from Ridgecrest Elementary School, and we're here to share an idea that we work on together.
Right now, the street in front of our school is called 7200 South. That street is also known as Fort Union Boulevard. Even though our school is not on Fort Union, this can be confusing for families, visitors, and emergency services trying to find our school. When people are looking for our school for the first time, they sometimes go to the wrong place. We want our school to be easy to find and safe for everyone. That's why we think the street name in front of our school should be changed.
To start the process, all of the 5th graders at Ridgecrest met together. We were asked to nominate street names that were connected to our school or our mascot, the Tigers. Everyone got a chance to share ideas. We ended up with about 30 different name ideas. Then all of the 5th graders voted on their favorites. From those votes, we narrowed the list down to the top 3 choices.
The 3 names with the most votes were Tiger Territory Ave, Tiger Club Lane, and Roaring Tiger Road. These names all represent our school and our mascot.
We held an official ballot vote. Every 5th grader voted for the favorite name out of the 3 choices. We took this step seriously so the decision would be fair and student-led.
After counting all the votes, the name Tiger Cub Lane won. We are proud of this name because it represents Ridgecrest Elementary and our younger Tigers. We believe it is a fun, meaningful, and clear name for our street.
We respectfully propose that 7200 South in front of our school be renamed Tiger Cub Lane. Brighton High School, which also has a tiger mascot, already has a street called Bengal Boulevard, so this idea has a precedent. Next year, Ridgecrest will combine with Bella Vista Elementary, and since we are both Tigers, this name will help unite our schools. Thank you for listening and for supporting student voices in the community.
They did such a great job, right?
They did.
So really they took this proposal and have really switched it around, right? You'll notice that they don't have Ridgecrest in any of those names. They really intentionally picked names that they felt could unify and help as we merge with Bella Vista. It's a pretty mature stance to take for 5th graders, I believe. If this is proposed, or if this proposal is approved, we would like to use this as an event that we could coordinate with our rebranding, the refresh of our branding, so that this could be a late summer, early fall, probably early fall event where we can highlight the name change as well as our new logos. We think it would be a really fun way to bring all of us together at Ridgecrest and Bella Vista together. So a lot of work has gone into this transition in general and this proposal from our 5th grade. And we appreciate the chance to come and to help you understand what's been going on with Ridgecrest and Bella Vista and where we're at, and to celebrate that although the transition is hard, they're still hard to manage. There's still big emotions in some places. We really have been able to turn the corner. And I think we have a lot more excitement than we do fear at this point. And I knew we were on the right track when a member of our transition team from Bella Vista said at one of our last meetings, you know, I'm still trying to be mad about our school being closed, and you guys are making it really hard. And we knew we were doing okay at that point, so we are here and we would love to answer any questions you have.
Anyone have any questions? Comments?
I appreciate you doing this, creating those environments of unity is really important, especially for young people.
Yeah.
And they're kind of feeling like they're in limbo. I think this is a great opportunity for them to come together.
Well, when I first heard about this proposed closing of Bella Vista and the children from the north side of Fort Union Boulevard needing to cross Fort Union Boulevard to get to Ridgecrest, the number one concern I had was safety. And those children and the families, parents that I talked to were, of course, very disappointed that their children would be farther to get to school. And what comes to my mind is I would like to volunteer. If you have, maybe I can talk to your parents, your SCC group, and see if there might be an interest in starting a bike bus to allow those children from the north side of Fort Union Boulevard who want to still either walk or roll to figure out a neighborhood byway or a way to come, the most safe way to get across Fort Union Boulevard.
That would be great.
So,
Yeah, I know that the plan is anyone that's on that north side of Fort Union is to have a bus available. So everyone will have access to be able to get to school safely. But the challenge then is those who want to bike or walk or roll to school. So I know there's discussion. I don't know where it's landed yet about providing crossing guards at key places to make sure that kids have the ability to still cross safely. So I think it's a great possibility for us to work together.
wonderful.
Yeah, but we know we have a plan to make sure everyone can get to us.
Yes.
Yeah.
So would this be an official renaming where you have the post office has to change, standardized addresses, and where does it go from? point A to
If
point B?
it's an official name change, yeah, there's a lot of underlying work. People already have their addresses, the
Yes.
old school checkbooks, if you will. I mean, all of these things would need to be adjusted if it's an official platted name change. So it's a little more in depth than just doing that. Now, an honorary name, if you will, is something different. So it's obviously you as the council would have to discuss it.
What are you recommending?
I think our goal was to have an official name change. Ultimately, we would like people to understand that 7200 is not Fort Union. It's hard for people to navigate and find us initially. We do have some community members here who live on that road who also, I'm just pointing that out to you, Brittany. I hope you don't mind. She lives right on that, so yeah. So we have some I know community input is there. We haven't spoken with everybody.
So is it the entire length of 7200 from Highland all the way down to the end?
There's
Or just,
it cuts off, this road in particular cuts off right before it gets to the Target
exactly.
and all of that, yeah, so that,
So you want the whole stretch?
yeah.
It also goes across Highland.
Yeah, but on the other side of Highland Drive, on the east side of Highland Drive, it's called 7020 South. It's not called
Yeah.
72.
7205.
I beg your pardon, 7205. So it's not the same name on the east side of the traffic light.
7205 versus 72, so. I
That's
did.
where we might knock on the doors and say, how would you feel about a change? Because there is a dead end point to a dead end point.
Yep.
Mhm. And that's why I asked it, because I did a street in Salt Lake. And it wasn't quite as long, so it wasn't as expensive, but it's pretty
Yeah.
pricey.
Okay.
Going through the process and changing the signage and the addresses and everything else. So we'd have to figure out what that cost would be.
Okay.
To balance out with, if that's not
Yeah.
feasible,
Right.
doing it on a regular.
Okay.
But that's something we really have to delve into is the cost of it, because I know it's
Pricing.
pretty pricey.
What does it look like to have it be an honorary name?
It's a lot easier then because your street signs that are on there, you have the same street number, but you would just have an honorary name underneath.
Underneath it,
The street
Okay.
sign, so basically be the cost of the street signs. Is that right, Matt?
Yeah,
Honorary?
it would just,
got it,
Yeah, just be the cost.
But
of
it wouldn't
street
change
signs.
their official address.
No,
Okay,
Your address would always be 7200 south,
Exactly.
whatever your east is, or what have you.
So if someone's Googling it, they still find.
Those two
They'd
things.
still find
Seventy-two
that,
hundred.
right.
It's not everything, but it's a
something,
lot less expensive that way.
Got it.
And the process is a
Yeah.
lot easier to go through.
And especially for all those
Yeah.
residents on the streets,
Yeah.
having to actually change their addresses on
Yeah.
every legal document. Seems like it'd be, I mean, a will, a bank account,
Mhm.
so I.
Yeah.
I'm trying to put myself in their shoes too, and an honorary name. I would all support, I can't imagine anybody not,
yeah,
just understanding what the implications would be of an official.
right. No, understandable. I think what we came in initially seeking your advice on what this can look like as well, right? Because this is your realm, not ours. So if we have something we think helps people navigate to the school easier and can help, right? Honor and unify our communities as well. I think however that works best,
We come up
we're,
with something.
we're open, you know, Yeah.
Ideas.
So it sounds like our staff is thinking they can come up with some ideas.
Yeah.
And estimates.
Yeah, well, yeah, I don't wanna throw out pricing, but I mean, as far as changing the signs, that's not the. That's not the biggest,
No.
yeah, that's not the barrier. The barrier, it's just like we said, I mean, Jim talking about the affidavits and whatnot that go on. And like you said, if there's not a whole lot of homes at front 72, I mean, there's a handful. But like you said, their official if you change the road name, all of their documents, their mortgage documents, their banking, everything they
Yeah.
do has to be changed. And that's a rough
That's a-
road to hoe, but honorary, it's a whole different ballgame.
But it wouldn't help your navigation.
Right.
It's, yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
the navigation is something totally separate.
yeah,
It's just hard to.
Councilmember Highland, is this in your?
This is,
District.
This is-
Holton's.
It'd be good for him to find out what some of those residents think.
So thank you. I think it's a wonderful idea. I think it would be a different conversation 30 years ago without Google Maps too. I mean, most of us now just put an address in, and so an honorary name to me is just, oh, thanks. Whether
Well,
or not as,
and I'm even thinking just from the school level, if we use the same address with 7200 and add on the honorary name to it. On our documents, that can help people navigate to us, I think, with that being on the signs.
Sure.
So I still think that helps.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Well, we
Thank you.
thank you for everything that you're doing for the community and bringing them together. It's wonderful.
It is our pleasure.
Yes, if any kids are here or family and teachers, do you want to all stand up? The people
Thank you.
that are here from Ridgecrest, Stella Vista.
All right, we're glad we did that. They're pretty great.
Also, Mayor, just for
Thanks for
information,
having
Ridgecrest has accepted the APWA National Public Works Week invitation for their field trip in May. The fifth grade class, yeah, the fifth grade class, so we'll be working with them, so we'll.
You're gonna invite the Bella Vistans too.
I know you need the unity, but I don't have the space.
well, we might have to arm wrestle for which council members get to go, right? Because that
Yeah.
was. a lot
We
of fun,
invite
and
the
it was-
council member from the district
public
and then
notice.
anybody else who would like to join, but you have to stagger on your times.
What is your date?
I forget it's second week in May. We'll be bringing all that forward. What's that?
May 19th.
Look, see,
Good thing you're.
they're looking forward to it.
It was a lot of fun.
Good.
Thank
Well,
you.
The next item on our agenda also involves children, and this is Prevent Child Abuse Utah. Deandra Brown is welcome to come to our table also, and she has a presentation for us. Yes.
Well, I do appreciate coming after hearing such wonderful things that are happening with the schools, in particular your younger children. So it makes a lot of sense, right? To keep talking about the importance of kids. So thank you for having me today. My name is Deandra Brown. With any luck, you may know me through advocacy that I've done over the years for victims of crime, and in particular, protecting children from abuse. Or you may also know me from the musical side of my life. I am a pianist with the group The Five Browns, and have a strong passion for simply being someone who cares deeply about children and about the kinds of communities that we create for them. So I'm with you here in the afternoon, not only as an advocate, but as a survivor of abuse myself. My own life has been shaped by that childhood abuse and its many lifelong effects. But my healing and subsequent advocacy since have been framed deeply by the people who stepped in later to help shoulder that weight that I was carrying. The people who listened, who cared, and who helped support me through a lot of dark aftermath moments that became a beautiful life moving forward. That experience is really what drives me in a lot of ways today. It's what I've dedicated my life to helping prevent abuse and protecting children and families so that they can truly find the safety and support and hope that they so need. So Child Abuse Prevention Month is upon us. It's every April, and it's about protection and prevention and partnership together, a shared commitment that we all come together to keep children safe and to strengthen families in our community. So it's really about recognizing that children are our most valuable resource and that strong families are at the root of strong communities. So the example proclamation that I think you have in your paperwork, it really just affirms something that you already believe here in Cottonwood Heights, that preventing abuse takes effort from all of us. It includes parents and teachers and faith leaders, law enforcement, and business leaders and neighbors and local leaders coming together to work side by side to protect our kiddos. So in my work with Prevent Child Abuse Utah, I see every day how prevention works best here at the local level, when communities take ownership and lead out with compassion. So this proclamation example that you see before you, we're not talking about a policy change. It is a statement of shared values and shared responsibility that we all understand. It formalizes the commitment Cottonwood Heights already demonstrates to the safety and well-being of our children. So by recognizing April as Child Abuse Prevention Month, you affirm that children in Cottonwood Heights deserve safe, stable, and nurturing environments, and that as leaders, you stand alongside families in making that a real possibility. So I truly believe that when we protect the kids in our circles, we strengthen the entire fabric of our community. So I thank you for your time today, and I hope that you will consider the tradition that you have here in Cottonwood Heights of moving forward and declaring April as Child Abuse Prevention Month. And maybe in the years to come, we can continue to talk about what we can do more to really make sure that this is a topic that community members know is something that's important to all of us.
Thank you, Deandra. Thank you. I see that we have proclamation 2020-04. So was this signed by Mayor Peterson back then?
Yeah, it was signed by everyone, and it's kind of a continuing resolution that makes every April Child Abuse Prevention Month. So that was done 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah, sounds like 6 years ago. So we really, and I just this week had a meeting with Riley Pilgrim and our police on another topic and learn more about the rates of child abuse that we have in our city and the tie that has to divorce and challenges that families face. So I would just maybe like in our April newsletter that we make recognition of this, that we have designated each April in Cottonwood Heights as Child Abuse Prevention Month and raise that awareness just through our newsletter. Do you have any other Does the F council have any other suggestions?
Well, I would like to say, it was, I believe, 2 years ago in April that I attended the conference that was held, I believe in Sandia Draper. And it was a day-long event. And the rate at which there is child sexual abuse is very high. It's a sad truth that we need to face. And I am in full support of building awareness to the need for a greater awareness that, and do more as it's appropriate and as you can guide us through that. Because children are very foundation of our society, and they are the leaders of tomorrow, and we don't, we're lost if we lose even one child to something that could have been prevented, or at least mitigated through support for these children. So thank you for your
Thank you.
dedication to such an important subject.
Well, I don't know how, if your community does like a safety fair at any point. I feel like this is a child safety issue. It should be right up there with linking our kids, helping them to understand what our law enforcement does, helping them to understand what our fire department does. And so I feel like if we can help remove that stigma around child abuse and discussing these issues and helping children and families to know that this is really one of our core values of strengthening families and protecting kids, just like we would with any other community service or resource that we offer.
This might be something that would fit under the umbrella of our Health in the Heights. To be able to facilitate some things after they get done with what they're working on now, but as another opportunity to be able to expand the voice in the community about what's going on and some of the preventive measures that are available.
Love that.
Yep, you've taken that role now in that committee, and
Yeah.
I served on it, and I mean, part of substance use disorder prevention is also strengthening families.
Yep.
So it's all tied together, and definitely
Very much.
supporting the Health of the Heights.
And a lot of times
Focusing on that.
parents feel that there's some sort of stigma if they have to reach out for help, right? And a lot of these cases could have been presented or prevented earlier down the road because parents just needed some basic help and assistance. In my case, obviously, it falls outside that spectrum, but there are a lot of things that we can do to prevent abuse. And I think that sometimes we get it stuck in our head that it's not preventable. But I'm here to tell you that it is. And the more support that families and community members have from within their community, helping to sort of shoulder in that load, the better results that we'll have for healthy families moving forward.
I know the chief has something.
Yeah, we're definitely progressive in our position on this issue. We have zero tolerance for crimes against women or children. We have a good relationship in our schools, and we get to these issues with our school resource officers and their domestic violence. We have a great victim advocate who can navigate people through the system. To that end, remind me what your ribbon color is?
We do ribbons and pinwheels specifically during April, and they're blue and silver.
Okay, so how about to support you, we can authorize a blue and silver T-shirt that we wear under the uniforms, and I'll buy this for the officers.
Goodness, I would
Would
love
that be-
that.
Okay.
And there is specifically a Wear Blue Day, that if you're willing to put on social media your support for these issues, that can be something that Cottonwood Heights leads out on. which
We'll
is-
issue a general order and we'll put them in blue, and then I'll have her advertise
I
that.
think it's April 10th, but I'll make sure and get the,
We'll wear it a whole month for you.
oh my
okay.
goodness, you're gonna make me get emotional.
Just remember, it was not the fire department.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Deandra. I'm so glad that our city leaders 6 years ago had this desire to make it perpetual for our city too, and I am glad for a reminder and for Deandra's visit. And now we have our Cottonwood Heights Public Parks and Recs District Master Plan presentation from Lisa Durant. So we invite her to come up and share this presentation. Anywhere you like. Anywhere you like. Come on up.
Oh, yes, come sit here.
Whose computer are we going?
Because I have a clicker.
How are you?
Good.
Good. Fingers with this.
I don't know about all of you, but I start almost every other day at the rec center.
It's awesome. So, I am Lisa Durant. I think we've all met at some way, shape, or form. I am the new executive director at the Cottonwood Heights Park and Recreation Service Area. Officially been in this position about 6 weeks, but I'm going on almost 40 years at the rec center. So, 12 as a part-timer and 28 as a full-timer. So I've been there, I've been there a long time. So this is kind of fun to see. I'll go through some pictures of when it was old and when it was new and where we're at. And we have two of our elected officials here, Patty Hansen and Dennis McGarrow, with us. Jen couldn't make it. She is out of town, and then some staff. So which is fun. So in 2025, we chose to go through a master plan for the recreation, just the recreation center. We've done master plans for Anzac Park and Bywater Park already, and felt that it was time to update our 2015 master plan. I should have brought it because you would have laughed. It's definitely morphed a lot in 10 years. Trends and things like that also help, and technology and that kind of a thing. So this is one of my favorite pictures of the rec center as it is. It kind of shows the space that it sits in and the mountains and probably why 60 years ago the residents chose to petition the county to create a service area and have Parks and Rec. So with the master plan, we were looking at kind of deficiencies where we were at structurally, mechanically, electrically, building codes have certainly changed, earthquake safety, all of the things. And then the other part is, how do we bring a 60-year-old building into, modern times? And so how those two met, we'll kind of go through that process a little bit. And we're also fully aware that with this project, when, we can talk about it at the end, but we're aware it comes with, a financial obligation of some sort and a lot of public input. What we did this last year was just staff and the architect, us meshing together. So let's, oh, sorry, now I'm going to go too fast. I kind of already talked about that, kind of our vision. So here's an overview of the recreation center itself and a little bit of Butler Park. And as you can see, we have a lot of partnerships and interlocal agreements. The green at the bottom, that whole section is Canyon School District. The bluish purplish part is the part that is owned by the service area. That is ours. The yellow red stripe down the middle is Salt Lake County land that we lease, and our building, half of our building sits in that part. The little circle is the substation. And then the top orange part is McIntyre Park, owned by Salt Lake City Public Utilities. So we have lots of agreements and partnerships and things we have to take into consideration when we are creating a master plan. All right. This blueprint's one of my favorites because this is how I came to know the rec center when I was little and I started taking swimming lessons. The bottom left is the indoor pool racquetball area. And then there was that skinny little walkway. And if you've been around the center for a long time, that was called the breezeway. We didn't have a gymnasium. We didn't have aerobics rooms. It was just open and you walked to the ice rink side. And then we just had a traditional rectangle L-shaped pool with no amenities. It was just flat water, flat everything. So it's really fun to see how we have evolved. Next picture, this is what we are now. Obviously the top is the north, so you can kind of see our outdoor pool there. All of the amenities that we have added, gyms and aerobics rooms and more pools, saunas, locker rooms have been revamped, more racquetball courts that have some of them been revamped into functional training rooms now. So it's been fun to watch the evolution of it. With the advice of our architect, the process started in a 5-phase process. We were going to do phase 1 and then phase 2 and then phase 3, then phase 4 and then phase 5. And you'll see that we narrowed that down to 2 phases. Phase 1 is strictly the outdoor pool, and it's redevelopment, basically. The outdoor pool was built in the early 80s. Lifespans of outdoor pools, especially in our climate, is maybe 25 to 30 years. We have well exceeded our lifespan. But we have some amazing people that work at the facility that help maintain what we have. We put in a liner over our plaster and things like that, but it's time definitely for that big pool to get an overhaul. Like we did the dive tank in 2017. So the first design that we came up with, you can see the existing dive pool, is rebuilding the outdoor 50-meter pool and reorienting it. So it would go east-west instead of north-south, and then creating a new recreation pool. We like this design, and it would probably end up this way in the final process, but then reality hits of like, we take away the majority of our parking lot. The true only parking lot that the service area owns is that one by the outdoor pool. Everything else is Canyon School District on the south side. And we also don't have a way to stage our patrons to get into that outdoor pool. So we came up with the next phase. So still switching that 50-meter pool and separating our current recreation pool. So the water slides would stay, the pool would stay. We would maintain the majority of our parking. We would still have an outdoor entrance where people could enter the pool. This process, we are hoping to apply for some ZAP tax funding through Salt Lake County when that finally opens up for parks. Right now it's open for arts and zoological things, but the parks side of ZAP has not opened yet. We have been pretty successful in getting ZAP tax funds, given that half of our building sits on Salt Lake County property. That's what built the dive tank in 2017. All right, so phase 2 is pretty much everything but the ice rink and the outdoor pools. When we really got down to the nitty-gritty, there was really no way to phase in new amenities without the cost being pretty ridiculous. So it would be new parking lots, childcare, indoor aquatic facilities. Again, we have exceeded our lifespan of an indoor pool facilities. They were original in 1971. So our indoor racing and diving are 1971. Again, they don't construct things like they used to either. That deck has never been replaced. Our other 2 pools decks have been replaced multiple times. So it's pretty impressive, but we are definitely starting to see signs of age with, a few leaks and drips and crumbling of concrete down below. Then if you've ever been on our track, running around a track 17.5 times makes you really dizzy. We would love to have a new track, a little bigger. There's never enough gym space between volleyball and basketball, pickleball, all the things and all the uses that people want. So we'd love to expand the gym. Bigger cardio and fitness rooms. I don't know if it's the trend of just having accessibility, availability. You can bring your own workout on your phone and do a workout. Our fitness areas are packed all the time, as you probably know if you use the facility. Group fitness for us is a hopping one. We offer 84 classes a week in just fitness. And they are full the majority of the time. So we could definitely use bigger spaces for that. Administration offices, if you've ever been to the rec center and come back behind the desk or had to come meet with somebody, you would know that it's probably time for an upgrade. We have original, probably 1980 prison wood desks back there and stuff. So, and then just support spaces. The other part we really talked about was creating a community or a senior space or some sort of joint venture, and you will see that as we go through. So kind of an overview of what that would look like with the complete outdoor pool. And then phase 2 is the green and purple areas. Again, this would be a collaboration with Salt Lake County and a substation if we can get it or can't get it, right? We do have to build or work around that. We're very aware of that. Does a community center, senior center space makes sense. And, you know, we could possibly look at potential partnerships with the city and with the county and their aging services program where we utilize that space in the day, but then we can program it at night for either rentals or classes or things to that extent. We have some just architectural drawings you'll see. One thing with redoing the building would be changing all of the entries and moving the parking to the south side. As you know, parking is at a premium over there. This would give us actually more spaces than we currently have on the outdoor pool side. And the beauty part of this is narrowing it to one entrance. That's the trouble we have where we've built in so many phases over the last 60 years is we have 3 entrances into our building. That's hard to staff, it's hard to maintain, safety-wise, security, tracking everybody that's paying or not paying. So it would be super awesome to have one entry. Kind of running from the other side of what the outdoor pool side would look like. This one is kind of phase 1. So it would be leaving our existing ice rink, but creating more seating spaces, upgrading our hockey locker rooms. If you're a hockey player and you've been in those locker rooms, ew. They're definitely time for a facelift. It'd be creating a new parks maintenance building out to the west. Kind of have an old abandoned sand pit out there where we used to have volleyball. Building something out there to house our equipment. New childcare, reception, fitness. You know, we would have an elevator. Again, we have no place for an elevator in our building. We have a really old lift where we're grandfathered in, but it's not great that you can't, you know, push your own button to go up and down the stairs. So a controlled entry, gym. I love the architect's renderings. And here is the upper level. So you can see it would be a bigger track that would encase the whole thing. It's new indoor pools. So a competitive pool with actual seating, because we have a pretty competitive swim team with Brighton High School and with our age group program. And you can kind of look at how the community center would work. It would have a full kitchen. It would have big open space, things we would be able to program in that area. This one I'm still not 100% on board with, but this is kind of the trend is you have open lockers in the middle and then you have individual locker rooms on the side. So everything is a family type changing room with showers or that type of thing. So you don't have a men's or a women's, it's individual stalls with doors and locks, which I have mixed feelings about, but it is kind of the trend across recreation. So that would be something that would probably be reviewed if we're able to do this master plan. So kind of a view of what the new rec pool on the inside would look like. The competitive pool with seating. View of fitness and cardio with the track, kind of how it would be a little more open, which would be nice, except for that's a lot of glass to clean. That's kind of an aerial view without the community center. We would provide more parking. We could possibly move locker rooms. I mean, there's definitely some different things that we could look at if we choose not to do that community center. And then we talk a little bit about funding strategies. You know, in order for us to be able to do this, it would be a GO bond that we would have to put to our residents. And realistically, this is a project that is probably 5 years down the road. If we are successful in securing ZAPTAC funds, that is a project that I think the earliest that it could start would be fall of 2027. You try and build through the winter. I mean, so it's a ways down the road. One of the things we are currently doing right now is we're working with a company called McKinstry that comes in and does energy efficiency. You guys aren't needing that yet because you have a new building. We have a really old building and ways that we can basically finance equipment by the savings that we save in our utilities. So we can upgrade some of our systems. So it's money that we've already budgeted. Instead of paying that utility bill, it would be paying a loan to the equipment that we'd be getting. And so we will be going through that process this year on a handful of items in our current building. But one of the things we made sure that if we're replacing mechanical things, that it's things that we could decommission while we build to recommission in a new building. We didn't want to say, oh, we're gonna do a new mechanical that it may only be good for 5 years. That doesn't make a lot of sense financially. So that was something that, you know, we stressed heavily that we didn't want to just throw money away. You know, and the grand cost of this whole project is about $88 million. That includes phase 1 and phase 2. Again, if we're successful with phase 1, that amount would be less. And is there any questions?
Anyone have any questions?
Well, I would like to just fill in some details about the community centers. So
Yeah.
we had the opportunity to go and meet with Salt Lake County Aging and Adult Services, Councilor Burrell and I, and a couple of citizens, and it was really clear from them that they said the model is typically for the city to own the building and then the county does the program.
Uh-huh.
But they also explained that the best use of those community centers is to just have them used during the day, as
Mhm.
explained by the seniors, and then you make them open for the community at night.
Yep.
And then you utilize that resource more efficiently because you get the dual purpose. So I appreciate that that has been put into your plan, and you know, we can't project right now what's 5 years down the road,
Right.
but it's certainly something to still talk about, consider, think about. Will we be in a financial position to do it? I hope so. We don't know. But I'm really grateful to them.
Yeah, I think it's important, especially in our community. I know that's been something that's been talked about for as long as I can remember. So, I mean, pre us being a city even, you know, where's the senior/community center. So yeah, I think it would be, you know, it's something that works out down the road and a great partnership.
The oldest average age city in the county. I think it's sorely needed.
Yes, for sure, for sure. So.
Anybody else?
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
I appreciate it, Lisa.
Thank you. It's good to see what you're planning.
And that is on our website if you ever wanted to go look for it.
All right, we're ready for our staff reports, and the first item is communications. We're going to talk about our newsletter. And our city manager, Jared Gerber, will.
I'm gonna be just come up too,
Oh, good.
and doesn't get to come often enough.
Thank you for everyone.
It's the hot seat today, Lee.
So in talking budget and everything else, this has come up again, and we talked about this a little bit last year about eliminating the printed version of the newsletter. We ran the numbers a little bit closer this time, and we would save approximately $69,000 a year in doing so. That's the printing cost. Now we would still have staff time creating the digital newsletter, putting that up online. It also opened us up to be a little more flexible with the newsletter online as well, and deadlines and other things that we could then amend and change and update as we go along. So I wanted to go through real quick some of our statistics online and some of our outreach methods, but we also wanted to say if this is something that we're going to eliminate, how do we still reach out to people in the best way that we can? And there's a couple other options, but I want to go through our outreach right now and kind of what our statistics are right now.
So, okay, so right now, the email newsletter, we have 1,029 active subscribers, but only 359 residents are subscribed to just receive the newsletter. But what I've been doing is I've been sending it out to just everybody, hitting all mailboxes, just to kind of get more of the digital out there.
How many again?
1,029
But I don't
active
understand,
subscribers.
for a digital newsletter.
Yes, email.
For
Oh.
all emails.
Yes,
For all emails. So we have 1,029 residents subscribed to any email. I
Any
should say.
kind of email.
Yes, any kind of.
So
email.
how do we equate that with households? Is there a way to do that,
So
or?
we have about 12,000, yes, a little over 12,000 households.
Well, I know, so I'm just curious, is this because two people could, I'm trying to understand
Yeah, I
what
don't-
portion of our cities has subscribed to that. 1,000 could be, you know,
Multiple people in
500.
one household.
Yeah.
There's no way for us to really.
We
track
wouldn't,
it.
yeah, there's no way to track that. And then, I mean, our open rate on the newsletters, like weekdays at 33%, but when we send it out on the weekends, I think there's more, you know, residents on their phones, they'll be opening it, so it's higher to 35%. It's still higher than other government open rates, which is typically 20 to 28%. So we still get a high, I mean, just government, we're talking, you know, I mean, And then, but with social media, we have a higher percentage there. I think with Facebook, we have 561 followers. And then,
Do you mind me? I'm sorry, but I want to make sure this is so important. Is the electronic newsletter, it's the newsletter that any of us electronically access? Okay, I didn't know, I didn't think that you were creating something completely.
No, it's
Okay,
the one,
No,
it's
no,
the
no,
link to the website, so when they access it, they're going to the website.
got it,
And opening it up.
got it, thank you.
so for example, for March and just Facebook, we had 1,800 views on that. Just that photo, the content, but we had 29 link clicks.
Oh,
So, yeah, so which we don't have a lot of active. I mean, that's where we kind of want to keep getting more residents to read. And this number can be anybody. I mean, it doesn't mean just Cottonwood Heights, it can be other cities. And then for Instagram, we have 2,986 followers. And then for the March newsletter, we had 437 views and only 4 link clicks. Instagram is tricky. You can't click on the content. So I have to make a story and then click here to be able, to anybody pull it up. And that was only 252 views. So it's a little bit more, yes, lower clicking. For Twitter, we have 3,403 followers, and that one is just really like a play. I don't really get a lot of statistics there. And then next door, we had 198 views. And again, that can be anybody that's following us. So total combined digital following, we have like 10,000 plus more residents. So it's pretty high up there. It's just the engagement that we don't have a lot of clicking or reading it or being
well,
involved.
you don't know if they're residents. I mean, you get it.
Yes, we
They're
don't know.
residents.
Yeah, there's no way to know.
Communication.
And that could be duplicated.
People doing different platforms, same person.
And our most, I think, are active, it tracks there, it's women, than over men. Our women are the ones that are more active in our social media. It doesn't, I think that mid-range is from 30 to 50 is where it's getting people that are opening.
And I mean, I have to point out, because this is a discussion. You look on social media and even though you have those 3,000 followers, there's 12 likes and 1 comment, right?
Mhm.
So the engagement is
Low.
just drastically lower than it was 2 years ago.
Yes.
That's not just us. I mean, that's just in general. People just aren't going to Facebook and Instagram. We're just tired of the banter, so they don't go.
Yes, and then the more, we're posting more often and the scheduling, it gets more engagement involved, but a lot of people can just be like, it even gives us the statistics where somebody just scroll, looks at her story for like a second and that doesn't consider a view. It's just, oh, I don't want to see that story.
No, it's a good idea to try to move to digital, but we have a population that's used to receiving that hard copy in the mail, which is, you can't tell by the pile at the front door, but I get feedback from neighbors and stuff about it, and it would be a long transition.
Yes.
And you said there's close to 1,000 emails that you can push out to right now. correct?
Yes.
Um,
And just recently in our newsletter that I sent out in March,
Yeah.
I put out a little blurb saying, hey, stay connected, be involved. You want to know what's going on with, public works or anything that's happening in our city, subscribe to our emails. We can push that out again. I know there was a time, I think 2 years ago where we kind of were engaged, sending that out in our social media
Yeah.
to get more subscribers, and then we kind of stopped. And now I feel like we can push that out again to get more
I think
residents.
that's really one good way to do it. It's a long wave though.
Yeah.
I mean, you're.
A couple things that we've thought about. One of the things we could look at is our website does have a module that allows to text.
Mhm.
So not just the newsletter, but you could actually text things out. That's about 18,000 a year just to have that module put in. So that could be used for the newsletter for other things as well. We'd have to get people to sign up again. It would be that push to get them to. So a neighboring city has this for their newsletter, and I get a text that says, hey, the newsletter's ready, click here to read. And so it pops up. If I want to read it, I just click on it and go straight to the newsletter.
That's good.
So formatting has to be considered too. So when we do put it out, we'll have to try to make sure it's mobile friendly. It
Mhm.
should be, I think we're already looking at that, but
Yes.
so you can read it on your phone, so it's not difficult. Some of the things that be put in here was, making sure we have printed copies still here available at City Hall, at the library, community centers, places where they can pick them up if they want one. We talked about possibly having an opt-in mail version, but again, that doesn't cut your cost fully, so.
No.
The trade-off,
Or quarterly too.
or a quarterly printed version.
Well, I think we should make an effort to either use. I mean, I must say that Flash Vote. I don't know how many seniors are on Flash Vote, but I think if we have any way to survey our residents, whether it's, a way to, because we can get demographics. So say we surveyed a third of our senior citizens, or figured out a way to access them and really ask the question, are you reading these newsletters? And I also don't see why it can't be more of, if we're going to mail out those that have the need, figure out some kind of outreach system, and maybe this is a citizen-driven initiative. And maybe what they get is more of a single sheet, black and white. I mean, I'm not trying to in any way reduce services for seniors, but I guess another question I have before when you say 69,000 for printing, what about the mailing
That's
cost?
the total cost for everything.
Printing and mailing?
Yeah, the printing, the mailing, putting it into the journal.
The city
That's
journal?
Yeah, that's the total cost that we pay each year.
Okay.
The other thing we could do is if we go like, it could be longer or shorter, there's not gonna be a page limit, there wouldn't be a restriction.
Well, and we need to really take into account how much of our communication director's time is involved in formatting these print, I mean, that has a monetary, value. Your time is valuable to attend to all the things that encompass communication. And I think as that's been one of the concerns I've been talking to Jared about in the last, over a year is.
I think if we do go with the texting or that other format, we can get more residents. I mean, I think that's kind of the new thing, the texting. Or, hey, I'm subscribed to Sandy, for example, City, and it's nice to just see what's happening. And you can just go through the email, whichever link you're interested in events. You don't have to go through everything. And then we did do a small survey, I believe it was last year, where I kind of wanted to test it out and put, hey, if you're reading the newsletter, let me know. It's only a 3, question. And we only got 10.
Yeah, we didn't get very much response. We put it in the newsletter.
In the newsletter, if you're
I see a
reading it,
stack of them every time. I have a PO box right here and it's just litters the post office. But it was my son who brought to my attention in Draper, Notify Draper. And they have this text, they've opted into texting and they love it.
Yeah.
So if there's a water main break, when we had the one at Fort Union Highland, we would be very careful about what we put out on the text so that we're not spamming or not assumed to be spammy. But, I guess maybe it's generational. I don't know. He's 30 something, but I can't even get anybody 40 and under to even send me an attachment in email. They text the attachment. So I'd hate to increase our costs. We're talking about budget constraints right now. But I think we have to keep up with how communications trends are changing. There is not engagement on Facebook and Instagram anymore. And so I think we have to seriously consider the texting option, and then maybe instead, we don't want to just increase our costs. Maybe we do go to a quarterly printed to still have that touch point, but we always have a monthly digital.
And with the monthly digital, there's more, we could work around with, like, how much do we want to put out there? And then, last minute changes. Hey, let's add this, not everything, but anything.
Well, and there was an example just this last month, related to the trees and winter where it's 7 degrees average higher than the last winter season. And you were very responsive. And Jared said, yeah, let's get something out, related to the need to take care of our trees in a time of climate change. So, I like what Councilmember Highland just described. And as to your point, Councilmember Newell, you know, that might, does that sound like a kind of transitioning if we went to the newsletter print coming out quarterly?
Yeah,
And
I
do-
like the idea of going digital. I like the gathering of data also. So when people decline the text, that's a measurement. It's not great, but it's also helpful to be able to do that, but also to see how many people open up those texts would be great. And people, you're right, people do nowadays the path of least resistance.
Yeah.
So if they get a text, they pop it open for 8 seconds and go.
How much would the quarterly cost?
We would have to ask and get the quotes on that, because I'm sure it's not gonna just break down by a monthly cost.
Well, I don't even know if City Journal can do that, and you know, we do have to borrow best practices from those cities around us, and I think I brought into you Draper's. It's a double fold, so it ends up being 4 bigger pages, and the way it's folded and it's mailed. Sandy doesn't do City Journal anymore. I think we'd have to get the cost estimate on a quarterly double fold.
Yeah, we would have to reach out. But it's-
I think we have to, I think we have to transition.
People just communicate, everybody, there's so many different forms of communication now, somebody's using all of them, or one of them.
Yeah.
So it's hard to figure out how you're getting the best outreach.
Thinking about our elderly population, I would think they want the mailed, but one of my friends that's 80, taking her to the airport and she doesn't read our paper. No, so
I get that demographic texting me. So I'd say years ago I didn't, but that's how they reach out to me. I would think more often it'd be a phone call, and it's not. They text me.
we can look at that, we can put something together and look at a cost estimate. One of the other things I'd like to look at, if the council's open to it, again, it's another cost, but depending on what we save here. Is a program called See Quick Fix, which is an app that you can brand differently. So every city, I've used it in a few cities and they brand it differently, but they all call it something different, but it's the same basis. You can actually go out and put, so it's an app you pull up, if you see something, if you see a pothole, if you see graffiti, you can click a picture of it, it geotags it, and then it sends it into a system. Now there may be more cost on our back end systems as far as a work order system that it would go through. But it would send to the right department, send out to that group, and then have that communication with whoever's. So the person signs up, you go out, you take the photo, you type in what you're talking about, what you want. And then it gets sent to the right department. So that department follows up in there. It actually updates that person as well.
This is a separate app though?
Separate app.
See, I think there's a friction point there, which is having yet another app on your, so I'm still an advocate of reducing the friction for our pet licensing, for our business licensing, for our short-term rental licensing. Those would be my higher priorities to me than having to install another app.
We are working on those things too, trying to get those quotes and all that, so. Any other questions on communication or?
Well, I think another important thing for us to consider is the timeline for the transition. So if that means we've got to produce the monthly printed for another year, I don't even know what is our agreement with the City Journal. But every single month, then you have to say, we are going to a quarterly, you sign up for our text messages. And I think probably a year is the minimum, how you feel about that, but
for a while.
I think it's gonna take a little bit of time for that transition.
We'll just have a front page thing on there every time.
Every single time. Yep.
good discussion.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, next on our agenda is to the America 250 discussion, and Barbara Higgins, our Administrative Services Director, will lead that.
Yes. Okay, so I was asked to look into what we could do as a city for America's 250th anniversary. So it turns out that the state of Utah they started about a year ago with America 250 Utah. So I've been in communication with the state and talked with him today, and there's a resolution. Shane was great to help us get this put together at the last minute, as well as a licensing agreement. The great thing is that this is not going to cost us anything. So Just a little bit of a recap. So it's America's semi-quincentennial. So they break it down so that everyone can understand that what a semi-quincentennial is. So their mission of Utah's America 250 is to honor our nation's past, celebrate our present, and inspire a future that upholds the values that define us as a nation and a state. So their vision statement, I think, is great. They want to have activities statewide, celebrations, and they want to support cities, communities, and schools. So it's supposed to be inspirational, but then low cost. So they have a 3-pronged goal as part of their campaign to educate, engage, and unite. So they have these different activities. So the 500 for our future 12K education, this is for teachers and parents that are homeschooling kids, K through 12. There's over 500 resources for them about America's history. So they can go on to the America 250 website and access all of those resources there. The Walk 250 Utah is a program they're encouraging as many people that can walk or roll in the state of Utah to do 250 miles this year. So you can log your miles on the state's website, and then awards will be given out. So I passed this information along to our new Employee Wellness Council to see if our employees wanted to get involved in this, but I think it'd be great for our residents.
Health in the Heights.
Exactly. Yes. So explore, and then Sandra is on our wellness council, so she's part of the Health in the Heights, so she's aware of it.
And what is the Wellness Council?
It's our employees. So
Got it. The Employees Wellness Council.
Mhm.
Got it. Thank you.
So the Exploring the Declaration at 250 speaker series is the state has speakers from across the state that are going to be giving presentations about America's history. And then PBS is going to be uploading those presentations onto their YouTube channel so people can go back and watch them, but they'll be speaking throughout the state throughout the year. The Penn is Mightier exhibit is currently at the Capitol and will be for the rest of the year. And it's all about the writing of the Constitution.
May I just interject? It is fantastic. If you've been up to the Capitol, it's on level 4, I believe. And it was so great. Wow.
That is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, on January 21st, I went with the youth. And I mean, it is really great.
That is awesome. There's also a mobile exhibit that's going to each county in the state of Utah this year. So they encourage us to let our residents know to go to the Capitol or to see where it's going to be traveling. And then serving a common cause, they're encouraging everyone in the state of Utah to get involved in service, to do service projects. And if you do at least 5 hours, you can log your time on the state's website and you'll get a certificate from the lieutenant governor. You can also nominate yourself or a coworker to receive awards for the service that you offer. So we've been brainstorming what we can do with our employees to try and provide service back to Cottonwood Heights. So that's another option. And then the America's Potluck is just asking residents or citizens across the country, everyone to do a potluck on Sunday, July 5th. So 49 states and Puerto Rico have followed. Utah led out on this, but there's just one more state that's looking into it. So people across the country in Puerto Rico will be doing potlucks on July 5th.
But that's 2027.
No,
2026.
Oh.
yeah,
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
This
Okay.
July 5th.
I think it's awesome.
Yeah, I think it's so great. So you can post or pin your potluck onto the state's website if you'd like, and you can mark it's private so that they're just seeing a list of everybody, or you can share it if you want to have it open for people to join. So that is all on the state's website. So they're just encouraging us to spread the word on that, to just be part of a giant nationwide potluck on July 5th.
You can Google America's Potluck
Yeah.
Utah, it all comes up. Yeah.
oh, wow.
So they also have sticker sheets that are at all the libraries and the Zions Bank branches for kids that are free of cost. So we want to make sure that our parents know about the sticker sheets. This is the QR code we can put out for the walk 250 Utah. So if you choose to sign the licensing agreement, we will get our own logo that says America 250 Utah Cottonwood Heights. And we can use that to put on any merchandise that we want, we can use it free of charge. So if we want to sell, some cities are selling shirts and hats and things like that. So if we wanted to do anything like that, we can put it on letterhead. I noticed some cities are putting it on their electronic signatures. So that's an option for us. So if we do choose to sign the agreement, then they'll make sure that that logo is accessible to us. So, and then if you have any questions, this is the contact information for the executive director and the associate director. So they've been so great to get information to us really quickly. So you have the information, so it's completely up to you. Do you guys have any questions?
I read the agreement. I think it's really generous. We don't have to pay anything. They'll provide it. They just ask us, not to amend it or, so there's certain parameters of use, but I think it's absolutely fantastic. We've got less than 5 months?
Yeah.
So
they're celebrating
get it
through
going.
the end of December. So,
Okay.
So we've got all of 2026, luckily.
I'd like to talk about newsletter things. I'd like to promote this America's Potluck in our newsletter because as I knocked on doors, we've all knocked on doors, there was just a cry for community.
Unification, yeah.
Yeah, and so let's encourage people to reach out and create that neighborhood feel that they so long for. That are missing.
We have those big breakfasts on breakfasts. Real big breakfasts in a number of locations. On the 4th of July. I would wonder how that attendance would be with the potluck the day after, or is that a chance for people to say, hey, let's do the potluck the day after?
Well, we always talk about the LDS community, but I, like, in my community, they're talking about doing potluck.
Right.
Yeah, because it's such a special, it's a 250th year celebration.
That's good.
Outside of, doesn't have to be LDS, obviously, and it shouldn't be, should be to take advantage of this, no matter your faith.
Just taking a day after the breakfast. Be a good idea, because it's not breakfast, it's something else, but whatever, yeah, it'll still be breakfast, right?
We do treats in the street and on every other Sunday, and so this would just take the place of a treats in the street.
Nice. I'll be partying down there, huh? You got no street to
We
go.
value
Yeah.
community where I'm at.
Another idea we had was doing an art or essay contest for all of the students in the schools with a topic that's related to 250. So that's just a thought that we had that doesn't have a cost, and then you as a council would be able to vote on the winners, and we could provide them with certificates.
Honor them at a council meeting, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes.
So I heard about this when I went to the Council of Mayors meeting and heard what other cities were doing. I appreciate our staff and Shane working so quickly to get it for us to jump on and get this moving. So that's great. Okay, we'll quickly review. Is there anything else on that?
Thanks, Barbara. Yeah.
We'll quickly review our calendars of upcoming events. Currently, from now until, we've had it since the 20th of February till March 18th, we have the local business smartest artist lobby art exhibit. And on March 19th, we have the Jazz Ambassadors of the United States Army Field Band coming. And that is all. And now we are going to close our meeting. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Or
5 minutes, start this.
Okay, I motion to close the work session and open a closed meeting.
Oh, it's not a closed meeting.
It's not a closed meeting,
You can-
a CDRA.
You can just close this meeting because the CDRA starts at 5:30.
Oh, okay. Then I'll motion to close the work session.
I'll second.
thank you. And all in favor?
Aye.
Right? Do we have to wait 5 minutes?
We do.
Well, we're right on time.
Early. So,
Yeah. Okay. All right, well, welcome to this next meeting where we're gonna talk about our the height and open space visioning, and we'll turn it over to Jim.
Great. Do you want to say anything, Jared, before I get going?
no, but Onyx and Thrive and their group are here too to listen in and give comment if you want. And as we go through this process, we're just trying to said no, and then I'm gonna keep going. So, we're just trying to nail down kind of what it is we want to see in this 2 acres. So I asked Jim to kind of put this together. So we can kind of narrow this down so we can start at least design on something. So we can start working around what this public space is going to look like and how we're going to program it. And try to nail down that vision that we see for this area, because we've gotten a lot of ideas over the last year. But it feels like we've gotten ideas for 10 acres instead of 2 to 3 acres here. So.
Yeah, so thanks, Jared and Mayor. So I handed out this 2-sided paper here, and this is just a summary of what some of the slides that I'm going to review. So these are things to consider as we think about this space and have a discussion. So the key considerations are things that we should think about. On the flip side are ideas that we've gathered previously through other efforts, both from the CDRA, the council. I think the community groups were involved. So just so that you're aware of kind of what's been thrown out there in the past to help inform the design of the space. So to start, I want to provide a little context and a foundation for, what exactly we're talking about, what the scope of this project is. There we go. Okay, so this is the concept plan that was previously shared with the council and the CDRA board. It's very conceptual. Again, nothing's been solidified, but this gives you a rough idea of the scale of the project. So here's the corner town center project. We're estimating just under 5 acres to be retail, office, and associated parking. The open space area, which you see is that green triangle area in the middle. Let me turn on the pointer here. So this area in the center equates to just over 2 acres. So as Jared mentioned, it's a relatively small piece as it relates to a park or open space. And then the balance would be residential. And again, all these numbers can change, but this is what we're using to help guide the discussion today. This is the 3D rendering that was shared previously based on that concept photo of, an idea of what could be there. Again, this can change based on the feedback and conversations today, but the initial thinking was to have a stage, covered stage, or some other space to have performances, a flex area that could accommodate farmers markets or yoga, other activities and events, a pedestrian pathway. And then this area here would slope up to the residential. You'll remember the pretty significant grade difference from the north to the south. So with that, I thought it'd be helpful just to review parks that we have here and a couple of other places that you may be familiar with, just to get a wrap your mind around the scale and how big of a space we have to work with. So the most closely related example size-wise would be Summerhill Park, the park that was just completed. I think we're all very familiar with that park. We've talked about it quite a bit over the last year. That park is just under 2 acres, so it's roughly the same size. Here you can see that park outlined in red. This aerial was when they were still building it. It's all completed now, but that's a pretty good size of scale. And then here's another view of that park. Another example is Mountain View Park. So here I just drew a 2.1 acre square over the existing park. So you can see, that's a large park, but when you narrow it down to 2 acres, it's relatively small as far as programming and things go.
How much of the parking lot that shows up in the rendering is considered part of the 2.1 acres?
None of the parking was included in that 2.1 acres. So here's Mill Creek Commons. So you may all be familiar with this area. So that plaza just in front of the building is actually almost exactly the same size as what that rendering showed. So here you can see a pretty good example of what could potentially fit in that space. This is programmed to be, a little bit more permanent, not as much flex area for farmers markets and things, but Again, to help wrap your mind around the scale of the space. Gallivan Center, again, this is a 2.1 acre square rectangle overlaid on the Gallivan Center. So that helps gauge roughly how big that space is. And then the last example I have here is from Colorado. This is Belmar Square in Lakewood. The Belmar Shopping Center is actually really fascinating. It was a really old shopping mall that the city demolished and completely redeveloped into a mixed-use town center. And they did a really good job. But this is a park open space area that's 2 acres that also was incorporated in that area. So again, all of these examples have different themes, different programming, and function differently depending on the community that they're in and what the goals were. So as Jared mentioned, really what we're focused on today is to help narrow the focus to say, what really do we want this space to be? And this goes back to the sheets that I handed out. So what's the primary role of the space? Do we want it to function as a civic living room, an event venue, a hybrid of the two? The design team has done a great job of communicating the challenges with trying to make a small area a lot of different things, because it ends up just not being anything. It doesn't do anything well. So another example that Sheldon actually mentioned was Farmington Station, their open space plaza area. That's just over 1 acre. I didn't put an aerial in here, but that's all very fixed, programmed, fountains, things that you can't really move around. It's just kind of is what it is. So again, what's the character and identity? Programming and activation is a big one. I feel like most of the time, any successful open space is a result of the programming that's there, depending on how it's designed. So again, if we want it to be a big grass area that's flex space, it's probably just going to be pretty dead unless there's something actually going on, unless there are features or other things there that help activate that space. Other things to consider: infrastructure, power, restrooms, if there's storage needed, more of the logistical side. And then flexibility again. How do we balance the lawn with plaza, landscaped areas? Lawn is really easy because it can be flexible, but it also requires maintenance and watering. If you do a lot of xeriscaping, that limits the flexibility. So there's a lot of give and take with those considerations. Year-round comfort and safety is another one. We have 4 climates here, or 4 seasons. So having that in mind.
Most years.
Yeah, most years. This year is a little different. We just had a really long fall and spring. And then maintenance and long-term costs are also important to consider. So, the life cycle of certain features or amenities, water features are something to consider in that space. The cost and staffing needed to maintain the areas. And then lastly, we really want this space to be a support for economic development and the businesses that locate there. I mean, that really can be the programming, and the activation is having restaurants and things where people go to that can then subsequently use that space. But we also want to be sensitive to those businesses and making sure that we're contributing to their success and not detracting from it. And then any phasing or adaptability to think about, are there things that we would like to include down the road that maybe we don't want to include now? Or how do we adapt that space over time? Do we build it in a permanent state and then have to completely scrape it and start over in 40, 50 years when we want to reinvent what that area becomes? So I won't go into these, but these are all listed on your form. The previous design ideas that we had. So again, these are all ideas that I believe the council and the citizen groups threw out as potential activations or programming for that park. It's a long list. So I'd encourage you to review it and just really let us know, what are we leaning towards? What do we want to do? We've got a little over 2 acres and a lot of ideas. So how do we distill those down into something to help focus efforts? So with that, I'll turn it back to you all with any questions or conversations, as well as the development team, if you guys have any input or things you want to weigh in on.
One of the things that I brought up a couple of times in our meetings is for that space to have it, the ability to fence it in for specific events. It just adds to that flexibility. If you want to have a beer garden or a barbecue festival. Somebody may rent the space, you could have that fit so they could actually have time and everything else and be able to control the entrance and exit.
And that, I assume that would be an association with some type of an event,
Yeah.
like a, okay? So that would be like a stage amphitheater type.
Mm-hmm.
We
Yes,
have,
I can see it.
yeah, we talked about a little bit, there's a challenge of keeping it open afterwards, so we've talked about different fence designs and. Ways too, so.
Mhm.
This is all certainly open for feedback, but I have observed that what becomes familiar becomes boring and not as highly utilized as things that are changing and are fun
Mhm.
and engaging. And so I don't want it to be another park. I think we have plenty of parks. I think that I would lean towards the flexible event space because of that element of novelty. And we want, because of where this town center sits, it's not right off of a freeway exit, so we have to entice people to come to it for it to be more successful and frequented by our residents. So my thought is to make it more of a flex space for events, and then, of course, that requires programming on our parts, but I remember too that the committee that was put together to conceptualize really wanted something like a monument, or they really said this is Cottonwood Heights. It reflects the mountains. Don't know exactly what that is. Somebody said, well, if we end up demolishing the old mill, there'll be parts of the old mill that are brought to it to be on display, to memorialize that structure. So one of the things I'd like to know from our design group is the limitations of the grade. The grade is so steep. Do you terrace that for effective events, or do you slope it for a stage? What are the limitations that we have to consider with the slope that's there?
This was some updated ones for the church.
Maybe that's
So-
maybe-
You guys were, great.
If you come up to the table, I always.
Yeah, we've got microphones.
Great, over there.
Yep,
Either
two
seat,
chairs.
I think there is a lot of grade. We can use the grade to our advantage in the back where the townhomes are to help vary some of the garages and lower that height against the residential next to it. So I think the grade is extremely advantageous in that you can do essentially kind of tuck under garages that eats up 10 feet of it. What we're showing on this is the idea where there's a flattened area where the main events can take place, and then there's a hill or a slope that comes up from it. I think you can use that to your advantage for if you have different levels, you could terrace it. You could have things like sledding, or you could have, viewing up at top to look down on the bottom. So I think whatever we design should incorporate the grade and not fight against it, not flatten the whole site, but use it somehow.
Yeah, and I guess something else I failed to mention earlier is, something to consider that's in the list here is how the space interacts and complements what's around it. So, here, if we've got the stage in the center, that's essentially projecting right to the residential units. So that you have to be considerate of noise or other things that would impact the residents living there. And it's great if we're designing everything together, because then designing the structures, you can build in noise proofing and other sound proofing mechanisms to help dampen the sound. But there's a lot of things like that with noise, light, traffic, people moving in and out of the space. So there's a lot of moving parts, and I don't know if there's one right answer, but all things to think about when we're designing and engaging. And there's solutions to those things. It's important to know at the front end with how it'll work.
There's a lot of competition for farmers market. I'm not sure that we're gonna win that competition because there are so many in other cities that are bigger, bigger spaces. But having these, pop-up markets or kids markets or the vendor booths that we've had at our community block parties, I think is important to be able to accommodate. I know we've had a lot of desire for this kind of stage. I just don't know how much it will be utilized and how often it will be utilized, unless it's that's the draw.
One of the other things we're looking at for the stage is there might be funding available for Olympic viewing events. So we're looking into the funding for that as well. So something, doesn't necessarily have to be a stage like this, but some kind of area where we could have those kind of events.
Can that be a multi-use platform
Well,
where it's not a dedicated stage?
I feel I need to go on the record that when this was initially conceptualized, it was Sean Newell and I at this table. And it was to be a place that was a town center. Town center was what, and it was to be a place where people could come and hang out and look toward the mountains. And so it was gonna be all about this view to the mountains. And what I see here is buildings and parking lot and stage. And especially this area here would afford the best views. And what the town center is left with is an orientation looking toward the west, the northwest, which are basically, there's a lot of power lines. They're not shown in this illustration, but the beautiful view is really not in this direction. The view of the mountains is in this direction, but with at least nearly half of the space, or whatever you want to say, 35 or 40% of the space being sloping. And this whole thing facing this way, the people that will enjoy the view are the ones that are on the stage or in the parking lot, not really, because that's, it looks like the camouflage back to reduce the effect. I mean, there was talk at the initial stages of not having any roadways within this acreage. And the direction that this is taken is very much in support of the retail space, which I understand that was in the plan. But I would hate to have a resident come in here and feel like this is basically a courtyard servicing the people that live in these townhouses. And then with, again, the retail, it doesn't activate the street and it doesn't welcome people off of Fort Union. I think it needs to have a very local feelings, and this idea of such a regional attraction and getting people to come off the freeway has developed in the last couple of years. I think we need to do some surveys and see where our residents, I know we have an envisioning committee, and I have not been in any of the envisioning committee meetings to know if this type of feeling where there's, two-story buildings all around it with an opening there and a small opening at the corner. I mean, I see Randy Whitehead has joined us, and maybe he could speak for the committee, but I want to make sure that we are creating a town center that people say, wow, I bonded for this because I wanted this place. I don't know, maybe the sentiment is that they want it for events, but to me, a town center isn't necessarily dedicated to putting on events that draw people in to come off the freeway and that sort of thing. I don't know that
I don't think they have to be, I don't think they have to be mutually exclusive. I don't see that as mutually exclusive. But I do really appreciate your point that maybe it's oriented in the wrong direction. There is a reality that part of bonding was that would also create some revenue. And that's a reality that we have to also consider. So I really appreciate.
Well, and I know we're here to talk about these conceptual things, but we need to tie everything to the financial realities of how far this $30 million is going to go. One of the key things was to provide most of the parking underground for aesthetic reasons. But when I push a pencil to this, I don't see where the, you know, the kind of numbers that, you know, I'd like to see some numbers put on paper as to how the $30 million is going to build the infrastructure that then coincides with the vision that Thrive has. You know, and I think we need to look at some hard numbers. Unless there's something there.
That's great feedback. We have most of the parking is underground. I don't get the parking thing, but there's a large parking structure underneath this whole thing to support.
Well, I know, but that's at $40,000 a stall.
Mhm.
So that's where, you know, I've never seen any, like, I think it should go out to bid to understand what the demolition is gonna cost, what the grading, you know, and then, you know, will we really have the kind of resources to do $40,000 a stall underground parking? I mean, that's a big price tag.
I'll let Scott maybe speak to some more of those topics.
Yeah,
On the
I mean,
development side.
we're happy to, you know, engage on any point in that in the sense of fact finding, figuring out where we are. At the end of the day, I think we all want the same thing in the sense that the economics need to work, right? You know, what we have presented, as you guys see it now, was based off of the RFP that we were given. And if ideas have changed, that's okay. Let's figure it out. Right? You know, I think we all want to see this project succeed and all want to do it together and win together. So let's find the happy medium. If this needs to change, then let's find the best use case and the, you know, the best economical way to do it.
So Councilmember Burrell, for this particular discussion, what were you preferring for the public space amenities? With just two.
Well, I think it needs to be seen from both Fort Union Boulevard especially and feel open and welcoming and I mean, we're looking at this illustration as if we're a bird's eye view looking down. But I think as people were to walk along either 2300 East or Fort Union Boulevard, it would be, you know, rows of, you know, residential and commercial buildings. So, and then you could walk across the parking lot or on the edge of it and eventually to an enclosed space, which again is very oriented toward looking down to the northwest. So
Would you prefer, so today as you drive by, you see the Walgreens, but then you just see a parking lot. Would you prefer to see a parking lot before buildings or buildings before
Well,
parking lot?
I'm in the minority. I have been for the last 3 years, but I have never wanted all these roads and all this asphalt in this space. So this has been developed by persons other than myself. So I'm speaking for, you know, the input and that I could understand at the time that I voted to purchase the Hillside Plaza, 10 acres. And the time, you know, to be able to really turn this over to your company to develop, you know, we still have quite several miles to go, as the old saying is, and quite a bit of financial output to turn it over all the 11 acres.
I think we're hitting the realities of it's hard to make all our dreams come true. You know, you and I have been into Summerhill Park. 2 acres is really not that much space.
Yeah.
I mean, I was wrestling with how do we get the most bang for our buck, because that's what the bond people would pay for. We wouldn't have had a drastically different discussion if this didn't have a public space.
Well,
So-
I originally thought it was a third of the space was going to be for the public. So 2 acres out of 11 acres is not a third of the space. So I just again want to.
So one thing that I think what I'm hearing from Councilmember Burrell is, you know, potentially integrating some linear park features that connect to the roadways.
Sure.
Than having it be isolated to the center, you know, potentially have a more prominent linear park, if you will, that connects both the east and the north to help draw people in, and also provide a view corridor for folks. And that, I guess that would come in exchange for, you know, potentially some units or square footage of retail or maybe reallocating some space. But does that touch on your
Well,
concern?
know that it would be, you know, I mean, that's 2300 East. I mean, I don't need, believe me, I don't take pleasure in being disruptive, but it has taken wings with a sense of,
So this is just a design.
Mhm.
What we're talking about tonight is what we want in the 2 acres,
Yeah.
not this.
So more,
Right.
yeah, more programming and the functionality of what is the space? Is it a soccer field? Is it a stage? Is it a splash pad? Is it something different? Because that will really help drive the design and the cost as well. But I think if we have an ideal scenario of what we'd like to see in that space, the design team can do what they do and figure out how to make that a reality for us in a way that will work with everything that's around it.
Concert-based gardens. Are they using,
Red Butte?
Red Butte Gardens.
Yeah, that's why I like the sloping. It's like Red Butte. If you have a
Mhm.
concert, people can sit and everybody can see. And it's not like you're way far away to be able to be entertained. And I like the fact that we have this space contained to be able to control events.
Mhm.
That's why I always say, have that fence around there. You can have youth events where you don't have to have everybody monitored, with a kid leash. And you can let them loose in there if there's a fence and it's closed and people know it's secure. There's things that I think about for that space and that flexibility to be able to open it up for the farmer's market or wherever else and not have to worry about a fence will make it nice. But you've got these restaurants and things, you've got people sitting out there on the patios and everything else. This is one reason I kind of like the stage, even if you don't see who's performing. If you're having dinner on a rooftop or on one of these sidewalks, you're gonna hear what's going on and it'll add to your experience being there on site.
I like the stage idea, and what I've heard from some residents is it could be our local youth or whoever.
Yeah.
And they're coming just to make music, so it's not anything official, it's just fun. And other things I've heard that make sense to me is that this is a place that could be very hot in the summer. And we have great, like, I live near Hollow Mill Park or Mill Hollow Park, and it has great shading over the playground, so you can enjoy it on a hot day. So if we had some things like that, so that the tables, and maybe they're seasonal, put out, I don't know. But so it's not scary on a hot summer day to go there, that you can go and enjoy it. Another idea I heard from somebody is what we use that slope for, like, kind of like an alpine slide, almost like take advantage of the slope to create something that's fun, that people will want to come, that's not unsafe, but that's fun, that would be a draw for people, not like a park, but that makes it a community feature of some. Those are some of the things that come to my mind. Another one that's on here from the previous design is, let me get from this one, it's just tables where people could come and have dinner, bring their own food and just be together, like you would at a town center. It doesn't always have to be going to the restaurant just to hang out, not at a park even, but like at a town center. These are.
well, that would be more inclusive. I mean, not everybody can afford to patronize these restaurants around the parking lot, so I just really like the idea of inclusivity and so I'm just trying to visualize the fencing that you're suggesting, Councilman Newell. It's portable fencing that could
No,
be,
it would be a permanent fence, but it would be open ends, probably the two ends. But if you have an event where there's a beer garden there, you have to be able to close it.
that can be done with temporary fencing. I don't know that fencing is.
And I know I don't know the application in a park space, but I've seen like retractable type fencing.
Yeah.
That you can
I've
have
seen
that would
that
kind of
too.
like nest in the ground, or I have no idea the practicality of that, but there's, I think, options to make it.
That doesn't look great either when you pull out that orange fence.
Yeah, like a snow fence or
Yeah.
something.
So.
A little janky.
Okay, this is really, I've gotta say, this is really where we needed your help, because we had a division committee who did a great job, but we're not given any parameters of cost or other feasible installations. So we have some great ideas, but we also know that you've done these, you have some of the expertise. Would any of you like to come to the table and lend your experience to us about what's been successful and how you've made 2 acres of community space? Let's put you on the spot. What do you need? We need some advice.
Yeah, we're happy to put together a program that is.
Do you want to come up, capture the audio?
It's really helpful for us to receive the feedback of what you envision. So we don't spend a lot of time designing and just going down the wrong road. So this meeting is super helpful for us to hear from you what you want and how you envision it. And then we'll try to put it all together and we can work on exactly what you just asked, the design that hopefully meets what you're looking for.
Well, if you have these 2 acres and you do some installations, give us an idea of in Carmel, Indiana, some of the things you sent pictures back to us where you could, I can't remember, play a game, sit at a chair, at the bench. What did you see at Carmel that you was so appealing to you?
Well, it was very, for the winter market. It had an ice skating rink kind of in the center. And then it had kiosks that had seating and or you could roam. And it had landscaping and there were buildings that were rather grand that were also distant. So I don't know, how many acres do you think that was in the center there? 5 acres?
It wasn't that large, it was 2 to 3,
Was it? That was about 3 acres.
but it was. Oh, right.
Oh, no, well, I think
At
that's,
this point, is this CDR?
since she asked about Carmel, Randy Whitehead and I were both there 4 years ago.
It was a location designed in such a way that residents wanted to go there all the time. It was flexible enough to hold major events there, farmers markets. And it became a draw in and of itself. And it was open, so it was easy to get to. It wasn't kind of hidden in the middle behind. And specifically for Cottonwood Heights. What the residents envisioned and were sold was what Ellen said. There would be a view of the mountains, and specifically these mountains right here, which is the logo of Cottonwood Heights. And that would be what was framed. There would be open trails for families to come through and walk and sit down and just enjoy and hang out with each other. So the key to everything was to build a sense of community, a place of pride where the residents would love to go. And that's what made them willing to increase their taxes, was to get something that would be a pride for them, that would be the jewel of Cottonwood Heights. And I'm really sorry because I wasn't here sooner, so I don't know if there were other pictures or other concepts. But right now, what it looks to me is there's some grass. And that doesn't create a sense of belonging. It doesn't give us a view of the mountains or the view of the city. It doesn't bring us to hang out in the town center. And in a nutshell, that was the key to build that. and then put around it other things, rather than build the other things and as an afterthought, build the town center. Is that,
What were some of those things, though? I mean, let's get concrete. What were the things that were there that brought people in on a daily basis? And then also allowed it to be flexible space for events? Because I've talked to some committee members and we don't need another splash pad. We have one down the street. We don't need an ice rink because we have one at Cottonwood Heights Rec Center. So what are the other daily kind of amenities that would bring people in?
okay, so in the information that was passed out, there was a list of requirements that the residents wanted.
The committee wanted with feedback from some residents.
The other way around, it's what the residents said they wanted in our all of those meetings that we had. We probably had 8, 10 different meetings of residents where they gave feedback. So what the residents that they wanted was boiled down into that list of requirements. And then the committee worked off of that list of requirements to envision and build and come up with all those different ideas. And I'm on the spot right now and I didn't come prepared with all of those, but I would be delighted.
I have it in front of me.
I would be delighted to be able to have another time when I can answer that question rather than in 30 seconds.
So a lot of that, Randy, is on our page. Can you have one copy, sir, Randy? So it says previous design ideas, and under unique attractions, it has adventure play, which is what I've heard from separately, like a zip line or a long alpine slide or something to take advantage of the slope. And it's got the shade awnings in there. And then we have a dedicated space for teenagers to engage, and that could be the stage area. So these are, I think, these ideas from the past. I'm still hearing those.
I have never seen this.
Well, they just brought it today.
Yeah.
Who did?
Our Onyx attraction. No?
It's a different format.
Oh, that's a list that we had.
They just-
So Jim Fun from our staff created this.
So I'll just say it's not what the committee and the residents said.
The previous design even part?
Randy, there was a list. It didn't look like this,
I
but
have a list of 25. Is that the same list you're talking about that the committee came up with?
And then just while we're looking for that, I think Councilmember Burrell and I had another designer just look at this design with this and say, kind of like Randy's saying, that this design looks kind of walled off because and it's very hard, the limits we have with this 10, 11 acres. But it looks like kind of a fortress from the outside. It's not as open. And so I think we as a council need to be thinking of creatively, how can we support you in reaching the financial goals we need, but also open it up somehow so that it's a little more open off Fort Union or 23rd, so that it doesn't look like a fortress.
well, and I guess, because I'm not trying to be negative toward Councilmember Newell's idea, but the reason I'm pushing back against fences is the very thing that I think that Randy Whitehead just described. It's this idea that you can flow in from northwest, east, and south, and it feels very open, and you're not feeling like it's fenced off, or let's see, if I walk around there, I can finally get in, or it's so it's difficult to achieve many different things, but I just these aren't just my ideas. I've been consulting with various people that have been involved in the municipal world for a long time and on other projects in other cities. And they said you have to be really careful that it still has a real feeling that it's been designed for the public if it's been bonded for. And that's a tricky, it makes it very challenging to make sure that it comes across that way and that they haven't just subsidized a commercial project. It's inherently challenging.
I think part of the confusion, if I may say, has come from the pushing of form-based code, which puts the buildings out on the street and the parking behind. And that was so much supported in so many discussions. And I think that's probably the origin of why those buildings are out on the street.
Well,
I think
street activation doesn't mean, you know, it means
form-based
that
code
you
was-
don't have an ocean of asphalt before you get going. Form-based code can have, it could have a 30-foot, you know, between the building and the street, but it's activated where people want to come in. Oh, well, look at the windows. Oh, I want to get inside. Oh, look at people are having fun. It's not like, you know, because even a 10-foot sidewalk with a few trees is very different than a feeling of true activation. I mean, you know, when we think about main streets that are from 150 years ago, you know, people felt like they were walking along and, you know, and then there was maybe one lane of traffic and so you could get across. There were numerous crosswalks and, oh, I want to get on the other side of the street to patronize that restaurant, or, oh, there's some friends of mine I see there. So, you know, Fort Union Boulevard currently doesn't lend itself to that. But I think we need a vision beyond what is and
I think the point of this meeting is that the vision now, the rubber hits the road and there's some constraints. And I think what they're really asking for is, with the realities now, what is it that we could do and what's the highest priority? Because we can't do all of it. So what is the highest priority? And I would agree with you. I'd love to be able to be oriented towards the mountains. Can we do that with the grade? What things were in Carmel and Urbana that make it made it exciting for every day, where you actually have a place to sit and enjoy, and at the same time where you can do some community events, because that's as much community building as being able to walk through. I think many of the citizens that are so close will be the ones that frequent it more daily or weekly, and then what brings other people in.
I can show you all the photographs. Get answers questions, just not fair.
The other question is, how do we make it feasible?
Right.
That's where we're trying to get
Right.
to. So how do we make this feasible so this is still a project that can and will be developed? And not just, the more we put into it, the more expense that goes into it, the less money that goes towards development, that then makes this project less and less feasible. And the more money the city then has to put in to get. What
if you were
so we
to
got to balance.
sit with the
somewhere.
budget committee, citizens budget committee right now, there's no appetite for that,
And I think
to spend more money.
another challenge is just the ongoing maintenance and logistical support needed. So it's great to have an event venue, but who's coordinating the events, who's staffing those events, who's paying for the events, who's, you know, there's a lot to think through with that.
Good
And
point.
I think it's a great aspiration, but again, going back to, can it morph into something else in the future? Are we ready to commit to that today or in a few years when it's constructed? Because those consume a lot of resources. And we went to the Sandy Amphitheater and they've got how many full-time employees and they were still understaffed. I mean, they had, I think, a budget, $2 million budget, I think, just for the amphitheater. And that was a much larger operation, but even for doing like our block party for one day a week, there's a lot of work on the staff end to do that. So having a permanent facility that we're constantly trying to program would require some staff time as well. So
Yeah, maybe that's another way to ask the question. Are there amenities that you know you don't want? We at one point designed a stage, but then we've had multiple other designs of different amenities. You mentioned no splash pad, no ice skating rink, because you already have that close by. Is that how the council feels, or?
But Steve, to that point, on September 12th, the last time we met with Randy's group, they were specifically asking for splash pads and playgrounds and parks. So we redesigned to phase the second phase specifically with that in mind. It would be really helpful to have some direction there.
I think at the end of the day, our job as the developer is to enable you guys. The central amenity is the city's. It's yours, you're gonna operate it, you're gonna maintain it. So it's tough for us to be like, hey, you should put this thing here, because at the end of the day, it's not ours. Right now, depending on what you do there also does affect everything else that is around it. So if the open space gets bigger, that changes the economics of everything else around. And so then that comes to an entirely different discussion of what does that do to the rent that's in our agreement to lease? Now, do we have to amend that? Right? And how much does that benefit the city? How much does it not benefit the city? At the end of the day, you know, I think, again, the moral should be, let's find the economics that work and get the best that we can. And we will follow your lead on the central amenity because it is not ours. Now, to that point, we have spoken with 3 or 4 landscaping architecture firms that are top tier, that if you had ideas, they can go to work, right? But that, you know, you got to contract with them and sit down and do the thing with them. You know, these meetings are great for brainstorming and figuring out what the actual direction is. But, you know, once you have a direction, that is the next step, is to get the expert, get it designed, right? And we're here to enable that. So point us in the direction you want and we're ready to go.
Wonder if it helps us to use this and just go through some of these things that are on this and just weed out what we like and don't like. Is that a helpful direction?
Yeah, I think so, just to skim through the previous design ideas and, you know, if any of them resonate with you or stick out, let us know and we can. Start there.
Don't want.
Yeah, again, going to the inverse of like, we definitely don't want a dog park, you know, that's good to know so that it's kind of out of our
We
mental
definitely
clutter.
don't want a dog park. We just crossed that off the list.
Sure, all
We
right.
already have one.
No dog.
I didn't see the arts festival up here in public gathering either. That was another one that we had discussed before.
Under regular events,
Yeah.
arts festival,
Mhm.
As a no?
as a yes.
Oh, yes, okay.
How do we feel about the farmer's market? We think we can't draw?
Randy, this is what Heather Anderson gave me, so I'm assuming it's from the committee of the the list of 25 items that you wanted.
I think
It says a central gathering space large enough to hold regular scheduled events such as a farmer's market on Saturdays, a large Christmas market in the winter, and any other events that attract the attendees that fit the city and vendors.
Yes.
Is it okay?
Now,
Gathering, can I?
one thing to just have an open field,
Sure.
and it's another thing to have it designed in such a way that it is feasible and fun to do.
So I'm gonna read another one. Like you say, yeah. The gathering space can be designed in such a way to be expandable on demand. Roads can be closed off and other existing amenity areas can be incorporated to make a much larger space. Landscape walking paths that meander through the top.
Yes,
An area for performances.
yes.
The gathering space should have the necessity infrastructure for events, electricity, water, sound. Infrastructure for events, including electricity, water, sound.
Yes, I think that's a list.
Restaurants have sidewalk dining, so now we're getting into like the commercial part of it, but. Let me go back up and see there's.
The right.
So those are the things that I'm taking from this list that were specifically mentioned, and I'll read one more. It needs to be a place where people of all ages want to go. There needs to be places to gather and hang out, children, young families, singles, grandparents, and seniors.
Place that attracts people together every day at all hours of the day. It's a beautiful place that everyone wants to go.
So we mentioned Carmel, Indiana. I'm sure you can look that up. This is kind of some of the inspiration. If I put some words in your mouth, it does seem like from everything that we've heard that was a very inspirational place to want as an amenity.
Yes.
And so if you look at that and see what's there, what's novel, I'm just a one voice, but I don't want another park because to me, that's just another park.
Sure.
And so when we talk about events and viewing parties and things of that nature, we just want to orient towards to take advantage of the the mountains that we so highly value in our, this is why we live here.
Can
Because
I
we live
follow
next
up
to
on the
this.
park
Yes. please.
comment? What do you mean when you say you don't want another park? What, what specifically in the park?
I mean, I'm thinking of even just a big playground area. What I'm remembering in Carmel is.
Grass.
Grass and playgrounds. Yeah.
A grass park is not what the residents.
But if there's grass for people to sit on, do we like the idea of a band area or a place where people can play music? For us, do we like that?
Yeah, and you can have your arts events there, you know, like the Chinese New Year and other events. where people are coming in for
This
me.
area that they were
So
talking
if there's seating on the hill that people can just put a blanket on, then it's free seating.
Yeah.
So then we need a hill.
Yeah.
We need to have some grass.
Is this the plaza in Carmel?
Well, if we took that grade out, then it would be a drop.
All
for the
right.
residents, so then that would not.
Yes.
say-
Is it?
We,
Send me the address.
but it's set up. I'll show you, I can show you pictures of it
I
every
think
season.
provided you this list of
and what
25.
happens.
If I haven't, I'll send it.
How
Yes.
they activate that
Okay.
to turn it into an area.
My question is, if we can't get all 25 in there, what happens?
That's okay.
Okay, that's my concern that's been all along, is
That's like.
can you visualize this?
Well, I know.
Then I go, we've got 2 acres.
We only have 2 acres. And this list of 25 isn't just for the public space. It actually speaks more broadly as
Yeah.
well about, you know, how restaurants could be able to be on the sidewalk
Sure.
and things like
Matt.
that, to Councilmember Burrell's
Can you
point
have
about
Matt
street
post that?
activation. You want me to forward this to you again? Just
Ken,
for-
if you'd like, I've
okay.
got it on file, but.
You do? Okay.
Matt, can you close that box? So this is the plaza in Carmel that was referenced. So it's just an aerial view, so you can't really get a feel for how it is on the ground, but it does look roughly about the same scale, maybe a little smaller. You can see, you know, it's plaza space with some grass, theaters, and then
Isn't it over there around the theater though, that there's some other amenities,
Well,
Randy?
the ice skating rink was in this whole, you know, it was at least there, and then you could. And then they closed this street, right, that was closed. So that was
bunch of kids.
vendors and walking.
Well,
right?
yes, and that's the point, is we've got to narrow it down.
And it had some beautiful landscaping and planters. It was fascinating as you walked into these center circles. Like I'm thinking, instead of a stage where everybody faces to the northwest, if there was a way to have the staging as kind of a round stage and people could sit around it.
Be creative.
And then
so-
over
But that's
here,
a
it
platform,
was
right? It didn't have a
was
cover. From this aerial view, it doesn't have a cover,
No,
it's a
but-
platform.
It was one of those, when you see it, it was built so that they could bring these in. The pavilion, they have a big, huge pavilion that they set up there for the Christmas market. And it was just flexible, and there was power and electricity for the different that were set up everywhere. And as you see, it's not really elaborate, and it doesn't have to be elaborate. But you gotta be aware of what you're trying to accomplish there and build in those amenities so that it can be what you need. And I think everyone's kind of blowing everything out of proportion. That's gotta be all this money and everything else. It doesn't have to be, it just has to be thoughtfully, purposefully planned, and it's available, and that's.
Down to the next one.
Another view, but
We can contract with a Chris Kendall Market to actually come in and they can pay us,
wouldn't that be cool?
right?
One they do for 2 days,
Oh
of
my
it. This is
I know
the place
they're working
Mark
with
Monument to be here for a whole month.
Yeah,
I mean, it's,
Well, they also
Yeah.
were.
and that's it, with the temporary ice skating rink, an interesting comment. They have another ice skating rink that the city owns. And they were afraid, well, should we set it up, because we already have another ice skating rink? They set it up and they said, it did not affect their other ice skating rink. because it's a different clientele. This one is filled with families and kids and teenagers and they come, but it's only temporary. And so it allows them the flexibility to do all these different things. And if anyone really wants to learn and know more, I know the people and the engineers in Carmel, because I go there 4 times a year and my son-in-law works for the city and they've said, we'll talk to anybody and share with them what we do and how it can be done because we've learned. And it don't spin this out of shape and say we have to choose between retail or commercial development. And there's no way we can do something that would be of meaning to the residents. It costs a lot of money. Just has to be thoughtfully understood and say, this is the purpose, this is our intention. And you get the right people to design it. And we've got it. On the outside, what Ellen said about it being a fortress, just open up spaces between the buildings so that there's a flow and people can see and you can see the mountains behind it. Yeah, okay, we don't have as much square footage in the building, but it's not one or the other. It's just thoughtful on the mountain view. Have places where people can walk and bring their family and have benches up high where on top of the buildings where they can see the mountains or turn around and look at the beautiful view of the entire city that you have up there. You have to be thoughtful because depending on the height of the ground or the elevation of the ground where you stand and the height of the buildings backing up to the residence, you can easily eliminate your view so that elevation becomes crucial component to be able to get the views.
And there's companies that have drones and ways to mimic or to figure out what kind of view you would have based on different design. So
I do see, I mean, these are all wonderful. I do think a legitimate constraint is the elevation change. And that's what we need their help on is, you know, how many of these things can we have given our steep elevation change? And this is all wonderful. I think Councilmember Newell just sent us a link to another park in Boston that's very similar and oh.
Yeah. The financing for the parking structure, there's financing available for that specifically for infrastructure. It is done all the time. And so when you put the parking structure underground, it's already been discussed, you just set the elevation appropriately so that where you end up, you still have a view of the mountains. It's not that everything has to be changed. It's just thoughtfulness. And I'm speaking to those that know I'm sorry. I shouldn't say, but we're happy to be involved with you. This committee spent months. We took trips around. We looked at all the other areas. We can share ideas that we feel made sense. There were a lot of them that economically, it was obvious it couldn't make sense. It came back, the original group that the consultants were paid $1 million to consult. They came back and said, okay, guys, we can't give you what you want. To do that, you'd have to float a bond for $30 million. That was their comment to us. And that's where we said, great, give us a design that does that and let us see if the residents would be willing to pay $30 million to be able to get it. And that's what the committee did. It was based on $1 million of consultants coming back and saying, that's what you need. And so that's what the committee ran with. And we shared those ideas with the residents and said, is it worth a Big Mac value meal, $12 a month, increase your taxes if you get this, that list that you just read? And there are more in that list, but that is the list. And that's what they voted on.
Thank you.
That's really helpful context, and I appreciate the dialogue and conversation. I think it does help us. What might be a good next step is for us to maybe do like a visual survey with you all, just to help guide some thoughts. We can look at some of these precedents and, you know, capture images and say, like, do you like this or do you like this, so that we can help, you know, guide conversations down that path, because it is really difficult to conceptualize and visualize what the space might look like and how it might function. So that may be a good next step. But I think for right now, we've gotten a little bit more direction on where things should go. I don't know if you guys have any other.
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but if you guys are going to do that, if you could prioritize, hey, this is our number one, this is our number two.
Yeah.
This is our number three, I think that would be infinitely beneficial. And then we can either, you know, with our design team, try to get into it, or if we need to bring in, you know, higher experts, then we can figure that out.
Great.
Is that? Yeah.
That sounds great. I think, we had worked on an updated site plan that it did include a big list of those items. There are a lot of amenities and items on that. And so prioritizing which is most important.
Yeah, and it's pretty critical to understand. I mean, these are great images. Carmel, Indiana. But there's a lot more constraints that we have on the site that deal with, which means that it's a challenge. How do you frame things? And I agree with your statement, but it's a real challenge. Create this not facing out, creating naturally facing. But love to be able to flip that and make that work or something. But I think this is good to flush out some of these ideas and prioritize.
Jared, do you have anything else?
Before we stop, I just want to talk on this previous design ideas page where it says senior activities and it talks about the Galvin and the big band dance nights. Do you guys, do our council members feel like, and Randy feel like that's valuable dance as a community thing? You're gonna have a beer garden, there's dance.
Well, I think that something like that would have to be incorporated by the stage or something, but I have no issues with that at all.
I'm just trying to think what, that's a community builder, isn't it?
Well, where I grew up, we would all show up and we would walk for a couple blocks carrying our folding chair. And there just happened to be a mall that was really the center. And they would just have bands or local talent. And it was something to do once a week. And the weather's mild in the months that the weather's mild. And I remember being so thrilled as a preteen and a teenager. I thought it was really great. And so we have so many talented people in Cottonwood Heights that, bands and dancing, or I like the idea of it, at least starting out, we don't have to spend a lot of money on entertainment and making elaborate plans if we can, again, support those in the local community. We have, great high school a cappella and bands, and it would be a chance for them to develop themselves. And if one day in 5 or 10 years, we have the resources to do, more elaborate professional events, so be it. But I do like the idea of it being informal, and I'm a grandmother. I'll have my 4-year-old grandson out there, you know, dancing with me, and I, you know, just a chance, a place to go and feel like it's safe and comfortable and folksy, maybe, I don't know.
Thank you, Jim.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Onyx and Thrive team.
Yes, please. And, you know, I want to reiterate, we are here to enable you guys. We're a resource. Please call us, sub us in, however we can help. We're here to make it happen. I think we all really want the same thing. We want a good project that is gonna be just incredible for this city. So, we're here to figure it out. Let's do it. Do you guys, anybody from our side have anything else to add? No. Okay. Yeah, feel free to call us if you need anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Get you that itemized list. Thank you. Hey, I guess we need a motion.
All of your presentations, if you'd like pictures and images of what.
Yeah, I'll call you tomorrow and I can gather it.
Would you send that to the council also, so we know what's being shared? That would be awesome.
I'll make the motion. I'll make the motion to close our CBRA meeting. Close meeting. Let's see it.
I'll second.
Okay, so we're entering a closed meeting now.
We are?
Yes, we just voted on that.
Oh, sorry.
Just real quick.
Sorry, Jerry, you just got here. We're throwing you out.
Sorry.
I've been kicked out of better places.
We'll start in 20 minutes.
Cheers.
Purpose mentioned in the motion.
I second it.
Yeah, we're gonna go into closed session for the CDRA.
Got it. We need to have the purpose of the closed meeting.
Oh, yeah.
What is the purpose
Property acquisition.
for acquisition of real estate
Yes,
The acquisition of property.
property?
Maybe Scott.
It's got name there.
Well,
Pretty essential.
I'm like the Rodney Dangerfield of accountants. Get my respect.
Thank you, Jim.
Yeah.
These young kids can't relate to that, so.
are you good, Matt, or are you?
I'm not,
Not you.
I'm just, can't do it, sorry.
Okay.
I didn't want you to start.
Hang on, Matt.
No, I was making sure. That's why I didn't want to.